Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Fox Valley Voice, the only live YouTube broadcast based in the Fox Valley, telling stories about what's going on in the Fox Valley. And my name is Jaime Gutierrez. I am your host, and joining me as my co-host this morning, to my left, your right, Cynthia K. Wade of DoOver.me joins us once again. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi. How are you today?
I am doing just great.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, sure. It's my pleasure. The last time we saw you on the show was in October.
Correct.
Okay.
We had just moved into our new space.
And some things have been happening since then.
Yeah, we've been busy. We're coming up very close here to our first anniversary. So we've moved into our new space, settled in, built a calendar, and we're off and running and getting very, very anxious to get into our second year of doing business. So
excellent.
Things are good.
So let's start off. We'll do a little review of what's been going on between October and now.
Okay.
And then we can take a look ahead as to some events and some workshops and meetings and networking and what's available at the DoOver.me studios.
Okay, that sounds good.
So October, you had just moved in. Tell me a little bit, and first of all, I'm sorry, we totally just skipped ahead here. If you are listening and watching and you would like to interact with us, you can certainly do so by sending us a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Fox Valley Voice. Or if you're watching on YouTube, you can just give us a little comment underneath the video there, and we'll see it, and hopefully we'll be able to get to your comments and questions for Cynthia. So, where was I?
I think we were going to go backwards a little bit.
Let's review.
Okay.
Tell us some of the good stuff that's been going on at DoOver.me.
Well, we signed a lease in early October and then spent most of the month of October refurbishing the space. And we had our official first event there at the beginning of November, and then the ribbon cutting with the mayor of Geneva on December 4th, I think it was, that first Friday in December. So as I said, we're up and running. We've got beautiful space over at 1141 Commerce Drive in Geneva. That's on the east side of Geneva. It's about 2 blocks south of the McDonald's that's at the corner of Route 38, which is State Street in Geneva and Glengarry. So we're offering programming there pretty much daily, although you really need to check the calendar. Our website is www.doover.me, and that's spelled DO-OVER.ME. We have a very robust website, and there's a calendar, and that lists all of the different events that we have there.
Who did your website for you?
Actually, I did my website for us. Yes.
All right. I might have to talk to you about doing my website. I need a robust website.
Well, I worked with a couple of guys to get a guy to design the logo, and then went out and priced the cost of websites and was just amazed at how much it costs to do a website, and we didn't have the money. We're a startup and we're a not-for-profit, and for a lot of different reasons, we didn't have the money. And so one of the guys that I finally ended up doing the logo with said, "You can do this. I have a design background anyway." He said, "You know what you want. You've got a clear vision graphically of what you want it to look like. And all of the material information has to come from you anyway." And so he worked with me and we put it together. I went to him when I had questions or when I hit obstacles that I couldn't overcome, so he supported me, and then we were able to do it for a tenth of the price. So, and I keep up with it. I'm always adding things. The blog changes almost daily, and there's the calendar changes almost weekly, and there's a lot of things that happen. So we actually at the top of the website in a banner at the top say something like what's new at DoOver.me. Mm-hmm. And if you click on that, it'll take you specifically to the things that are newest. And we do that by month so that when you go back to it, you don't have to scroll through everything to see what's been added since the last time you were there.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I need to take some lessons from you or something because My website. See, when we do these shows, the YouTube channel just updates automatically, right? And so I got lazy, because normally I would take that information and then make a post on my website,
Right.
which is like a blog style. Well, I stopped doing that, and I think partially because I don't like the way my website looks, so I kind of just abandoned it. It's so embarrassing. If you go to my website right now, foxvalleyvoice.com, I think the last entry is from November or December of 2013. So it's been
that's not
over.
good.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
The thing
I
about
do
it,
Facebook and I do the YouTube thing, but I've kind of just forgotten about my website.
yeah. I mean, my background is marketing, and to me, the careers that I've had and where I'm at now with DoOver.me, it's all about helping somebody market. And you're either marketing yourself if you're in a situation where you're looking for a job, for example, or you're the owner of a small business, or you're marketing a product that you're selling. But either way, the basic process that you're going through is the same. And one of the things, the basic tenets of marketing is that don't start if you don't plan to continue, because you have to have some consistency, not only of how the message is getting out there, but of the message itself. So when you start something, start it and really get yourself in a pattern and a habit of doing it on a regular basis, and then add the next thing to it. And don't add the next thing until you've already got the pattern well established in the first thing.
Yeah.
So.
I know. I feel bad. I should do something about it, right?
Well, thinking doesn't get you out of bed. So, the bottom line is that, yeah, it's great to have all these cool ideas, but unless you do something about them, nothing ever changes. It's not just thinking about it, it's actually doing it. And that's actually part of what DoOver.me is all about, because so many people have that problem. They think about all these things that they think that they want to do, but when it actually comes time to do it and they have to step out of their comfort zone and make a change, they're not willing to do it. And that's what DoOver.me is designed to do, to help people see that change is an opportunity. It shouldn't be scary. It's an opportunity to grow and have something different, to leave behind what doesn't function for you anymore, and to move forward and to grasp onto the things that are going to make your life better.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and jump into that real quick. DoOver.me, helping people that are transitioning either into they're unemployed, or they're having a health issue, or they've moved, or whatever it is.
Right.
And like you said, just because you think you want something doesn't mean you're going to get it. So say I am a person who has taken that very first step, reaching out to you, and I come to see you at the office at DoOver.me Central. What are some of the tools that you use in order to help, people move further down that road of progress, instead of just sitting there going, "Oh man, I wish I had a job"?
Well, the first thing we do is encourage people to participate in a 3-part class that we call First Things First. And basically that walks people through what happened to them and why, gives them a chance to vent, and then also to understand a little bit about their role in what happened, because regardless of what happens, you almost always have some degree of responsibility for what's happened to you, and it's helpful to understand that before you can move forward. Mm-hmm. And then we ask them to take a look at what their natural talents and gifts are, because I firmly believe that if we're working out of our innate gifts and our passions, that's when we're the happiest and the most successful. So now that you're at this crossroads, you might as well look at that as a possibility. But it's amazing to me how many people don't have really any idea of what they're really good at and what they're really passionate about doing. So we walk them through a series of different exercises that help them to come to that understanding. And what we're looking for is that place where somebody's passions and the world's needs mesh, so that hopefully they can earn some kind of an income, whatever their need for income is, out of this decision that they make. Mm-hmm. And then we look at putting together charting a course plan, a map, so to speak, that's going to actually walk them through the things that they have to do. We're stopped thinking now, and now we're acting. And then we provide them with the tools that they need in order to do that. The tools are always going to be a little bit different, but it's marketing, it's presentation. If it's a job transition, it can be a resume and a LinkedIn profile. It can be interviewing skills. If it's a divorce situation, it can be understanding about property, about finances, about going back into the workforce if you haven't been working, if you've been a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom. So at that point, they kind of diverge a little bit, and it really is dependent upon an individual's needs.
So let's talk a little bit about, you wanted to highlight some of the stories that have come out since October, since we talked to you last on the show. Tell us a little bit about some of these folks that you have gone through these steps with, and what's happened with them.
That's really, for me, the biggest joy of doing DoOver.me, because it provides me with the opportunity to work with all of these people and really make a difference in their lives. So the first young woman that we had an opportunity to work with was Mary. She was the daughter, or she is the daughter of a very good friend of mine whom I've known for over 20 years. She graduated from college with a degree in teaching. She had a good resume, but she was not getting the job. She was getting the calls for the interviews, but when she went on the interview, she wasn't able to close it. And her father, who is a salesman, was really frustrated because he knew that she could do the job, but he also realized that for whatever reason, she wasn't closing in the interview. Because an interview is a sales situation, and you have to close it. Otherwise, you're not going to get the offer.
ABC.
Right.
Always be closing.
Well, that's a little bit changed, but that's a whole different conversation. But anyway, with this individual, Mary, we sat down and talked, and it immediately became apparent that she really didn't understand how to handle herself appropriately during an interview. So we put together a series of different exercises where we worked on how to do an interview, how to ask questions, how to answer questions. Then after she got more comfortable with me, I set up mock interviews with strangers and coached her before them, coached the interviewers so that it would be appropriate interviewing for her kind of work. And eventually, after about 6 weeks, she started to get a couple opportunities to interview again, and she ended up getting a job.
All right.
And she really just needed help with that one piece.
So what kinds of things, maybe not specifically Mary, but do people do to sabotage themselves in an interview situation?
In most cases, I think that people are like politicians. They have these sound bites that they think that they have to communicate at all costs. And so when they're in an interview situation with someone, they're not really listening to what the other person is saying and responding to what the other person is saying. They've got these things in their head that they want to get out, so they're just saying them whether it's an appropriate response or not. They also talk way too much. You don't want to overshare in an interview situation. You want to leave them wanting a little bit more, because sometimes you can share too much information and that additional information kicks you out of the pool instead of drawing you into the pool. So those are just, two things that happen very frequently.
Okay. So it's important to listen.
Correct.
Do not try to push your own agenda.
Correct.
And do not share too much. Get the job first before they know how weird you are.
Yeah. Unless you're in the advertising agency and business or something, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you worked with her, and what's the response when you have to tell somebody this is what you're doing wrong? Is it like they get a little defensive a little bit, or do they take it in stride?
That's a great question, and everybody's different. First of all, you'd like to think that most of the people that are coming to DoOver.me are coming because they're not getting the job done on their own and they know they need help. So because of that they would be a little bit more open-minded. But that's not always the case. And sometimes you have to be very gentle in terms of how you tell people. But at the same time, I'm very honest, and I'm not going to tell you that you're doing a good job if you're not, because that's not going to help you.
Right.
I'm trying to help you, and in order to help you, you need to be able to know where you need to improve and be able to work on that. So one of the things I try to do is not just share with people where they need to improve, but also give them the tools, give them the support that are going to allow them to do it, so that then they feel like, okay, I have this challenge, but this challenge can be overcome with the help of DoOver.me. So that's a big part of it, offering them an opportunity to see the possibility that they can learn a new way of doing things.
Mm-hmm. And you're dealing with mostly adults, if not exclusively with
exclusively
adults, right?
adults.
So, and we
yeah.
all know that adults can be set in their ways.
Yes.
So I can see where it could get a little dicey every once in a while, trying to tell somebody that they need to change their
It is.
approach.
It is. But it's like going to the doctor. You know, you can go to the doctor and they can tell you, you know, that you need to lose weight and eat better to better your numbers for your blood pressure and your cholesterol and all that other kind of stuff. You listen to them because they're the expert, but you don't always do what they say.
Right.
So DoOver.me is the same thing. You know, we provide people with information, we give them guidance, we make suggestions, we provide information for them, but in the end, we can't make them do any of it. All I can do is support them as they're going through it. Some people aren't ready. They think they're ready. They come through the door. They start through the process. They get uncomfortable and they leave. And sometimes they come back and sometimes they don't come back. But we're here when you're ready to do the work. I can't do the work for you. I can guide you, I can help you, I can support you. I can't do it. And it's not easy. It's not easy work. So all I can say is I'm here and I'll support you when you need it, but you have to do the work. And if they're not ready, you can't make them.
Yeah. You have any other stories you'd like to share, some success stories? From
My favorite story is a guy named Daniel, who I met through Toastmasters. He's got a really interesting story. He was brought to the United States at the age of 9 years old to Aurora by his parents, who were both professionals in their home country of Mexico, and he came here illegally. Mm. And so he went through the Aurora public school system. Eventually, his parents put him through college, so he has a college degree. And the kid was really frustrated because what happened was he just assumed that when he got this college degree, he'd be able to go out and get a job. Mm-hmm. And the reality was that he didn't have the proper documentation. So Obama stepped in, and with some of the government legislation that happened in the last couple of years, he was able to get a Social Security card, and now he is able to work legally. So he got really excited because he thought then he'd be able to go out and have a job. But there was another problem that nobody ever brought to Daniel's attention, and that was that he has a communication problem. When you sit down and talk with him, when I first did 6 months ago, it was almost impossible to understand what he was saying. And I really wondered whether or not he had some type of a physical disability that precluded him from moving his mouth in the way that you need to in order to pronunciate correctly. And interestingly enough, in conversations with him, his mom said that he always mumbled, and it was always difficult to understand him, even as a little guy, even in his native language of Spanish. So the first thing we did was we took him to an ear, nose, and throat specialist at Mercy Hospital to ascertain that he didn't, in fact, have any physical reason why he couldn't speak. Mm-hmm. The doctor saw him at no charge because Daniel doesn't have insurance right now. He's over 26 and not able to be on his father's policy. So he saw him at no charge. He verified that there was no physical abnormality with Daniel's mouth and ordered speech therapy. Then we worked with him to get him into a program at Mercy Hospital in Aurora here that would allow him to have speech therapy on a regular basis. Then we started to work with him with some literacy exercises that I knew about because of working with literacy volunteers to help him learn how to move his mouth and enunciate correctly. In addition to doing all that, we helped him with his resume, we helped him with his LinkedIn profile, and he went to work as a temporary. And he's been working there as a temporary for several months now. And then we started to encourage him to reach out because what he ultimately wants to do is work in public relations and marketing. And so what we did was we helped him put together some marketing letters. And long story short, because of a contact that we had, he was able to get an interview with a Naperville advertising agency. And it looks like he's going to be starting an internship there.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the kind of story. Daniel is a very hard-working young man, and the fact that he got through college with all of these challenges that he was facing is amazing to me. And the fact that even in our public school systems, nobody through all those years identified that he had a problem and did anything about it is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that's the main thing that sticks out to me in that story is, how did he get to you?
At 27 years old, I think he's 27 or 28 years old,
Yeah, that definitely should have been addressed a long time ago.
Yeah.
But better late than never,
Right,
I suppose.
and he's been in the United States for all these years. He speaks Spanish and English. He's bicultural in the sense that, he was raised in a Mexican family, but here in the United States. So he's got exposure to both cultures. Mm-hmm. He's going to make a contribution somewhere along the line if we can just get him over this hurdle.
Yeah, so. That's having that kind of a background and experience is a massive asset for him. So we just gotta get him the right tools, and off he goes. Right. Excellent.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit. We've got about 10 minutes here. Let's talk about what's coming up. We've got some celebrations and some workshops and classes and things like that. So what do we want the people to know?
Well, as I said earlier, we have a very robust website, and I really encourage you to check out the calendar because there's things happening at doover.me all the time. Tonight we're having a discussion on Ariana Huffington's book called Thrive. You don't have to have read the book. It's free if you're a member. $5 donation is requested if you're not a member. We have things coming up on Thursday that are going to help you to identify the ABCs of you. Who are you really? If you're somebody who hasn't really thought about that ever, or maybe in a long time since you were a teenager, it's really an important tool because it's hard to understand where you want to go and what you want to do if you don't understand who you are. Mm-hmm. We're also doing a workshop next week on Tuesday, a week from today, in the morning that's building your toolkit, which is specifically tools for people that are in job hunting mode. So it's going to talk about resumes, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so important. I'm hearing more and more from my recruiter colleagues that people are getting hired without resumes. They're getting hired straight from their LinkedIn profile. So if you don't have a strong LinkedIn profile, and you're out there looking for a job, forget it. You're pretty much,
interesting
behind the scenes.
I hate resumes. I absolutely, it's been like my least favorite thing about being, having to find a professional job.
A resume is a tool, just like anything else. It's a tool, and you have to have a lot of tools in your toolbox to pull out the appropriate ones when necessary. However, it's a tool that has its days numbered. There'll be 10 years from now, people probably will not have resumes, at least not resumes the way we think of them. Mm-hmm. There are other tools that will then take their place, the modern versions of these tools. But you have to know which situations you need them in and which situations you don't need them in. And you have to have them in your toolbox and ready to go if, in fact, you find yourself in a situation where you need one. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing that's happening that I wanted to share with everybody, we're, as I said, celebrating our first anniversary next month. I can't believe it, but on March 24th, DoOver.me will officially be 1 year old. And we're having a party on Sunday, March 22nd, to celebrate our first anniversary. It's going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Only 50 tickets are going to be sold. They're $30 a piece, and we'll be having a sumptuous buffet and sparkling beverages. We're having an improv performance because that's one of the things that we do at DoOver.me too for a lot of different reasons. We're having a professional level improv performance. We're having a 50-50 raffle. We're accepting donations and building up a prize closet, to be able to have some type of a raffle. So it should be a really fun event, and we invite everybody to come and help celebrate with us and also have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and talk to some of the people like Daniel and Mary who will be there, who will share with you the kind of experience they had working with DoOver.me.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Where is that going to take place?
That's going to actually happen at the clubhouse where I live in Geneva. It's at Chesapeake Commons Homeowners Association Clubhouse, which is at 1490 Geneva Drive in Geneva. And all of that information is on the website. And also, if you contact me at Cynthia@doover.me, I can send you some information. Or, as I said, go to the website, which is www.do-overer.me to find more information. Or call me. You can call me too, 630-402-0429. I always like to meet new people.
Yeah, I know that about you.
Yeah.
So I have been to the office, and it's a great space. You got room to meet and have public events as well as to counsel people.
In a private setting, right?
In private. You've got an excellent coffee maker.
Thank you.
Which is which is very important.
Yeah. Well, I've saved a lot of money since we got that space, just on meetings at Starbucks and Arcedium and Cocoa Bean and, all the local coffee shops.
And you don't even think about it, right?
No. But, oh my gosh, when I started doing my organizing the receipts for my taxes, oh my gosh, all those cups of coffee.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason those places are in business, right?
I guess.
Now, we would be remiss to go through an entire show without talking about the do-over.dog.
Yeah, Bella.
How is Bella doing?
Bella is fine.
If you don't know who we're talking about, just check out our photo on Facebook there, and she's an excellent mascot.
Yes, thank you. I started do-over.me when I was in a really bad place and needed a do-over, and part of my do-over was adopting Bella. So she's a rescue dog. She's a West Highland Terrier, and she's going to be 3 years old. And she comes to work with me pretty much every day, and she's pretty much always there to greet people. And she's fabulous with people. She's got a really perky personality, and her little tail just kind of wags behind her. And she's got Westitude. If you're watching the Westminster Kennel Club, you'll see the Westies have a lot of attitude, and Bella's got that. And she reminds me, which is part of what I needed as my do-over, that you can smile and play every day regardless of what's happening in your life. And that's what she does for me. So she's my personal do-over.dog. Bella, yeah.
Excellent. And I'm sure that she, in her own way, it helps people just by bringing it. Sometimes you just need a smile, right?
Absolutely, you just need a smile. Yeah, and that's, if we've got time, one of the reasons why we offer an improv class. It's one of our most popular classes. You don't have to be a member of DoOver.me to participate, but every Wednesday from 7 until 9 we do improv, and it's a great opportunity to just leave all your baggage at the door. You walk in and you laugh and you have fun and you learn, because there's just a tremendous amount of tools that can be learned by doing improv about not only thinking outside of the box, but then acting outside of the box, and realizing that if your actions outside of the box don't work out the way that you think they will, it's not the end of the world. You can either pick yourself up, or you're working with teammates that are going to help pick you up and keep you going again. It's going to teach you some of those tools that you need for interviewing, just some life skills about feeling better about yourself.
And from what I've heard about improv, one of the top skills that you learn is listening.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Which we talked about before. So, among other things, of course. But speaking of listening, we would like to thank everyone for joining us this morning and listening to our stories. As Cynthia mentioned earlier, for more information, make sure you visit her robust website at www.do-over.me.
Correct.
And get out and, if it's either you or someone could definitely use the resources available at doover.me. So.
Yeah. Give me a call. I'm happy to talk to anybody and give you some more information, answer your questions. So.
Cynthia, thank you so much for joining us again, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
And soon to be happy birthday, happy anniversary for doover.me in March. And we will make sure you keep us updated with any new news.
Sounds good.
All right. And
thank you, Jaime.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else before we say goodbye? Did we miss anything?
Just visit us. Come and see us. Stop over sometime. 1141 Commerce Drive in Geneva.
All right, and that is going to do it for this morning. We'd like to thank you once again for listening and watching. Don't go to my website.
Go to mine.
Yes, go to Cynthia's, and then you can visit. You can see some of our other previous shows at my YouTube page, youtube.com/Fox Valley Voice. And you can visit us on Facebook. That's pretty much where I hang out.
Okay.
I've got to get off my rear and redesign my website. I think I'm going to do that.
Well, let me know how I can help.
I will. And then we would also like to thank the friends of our show that help make this show possible. We are talking about Neighbors Magazines in St. Charles, Geneva, Batavia, and North Aurora. Check them out at neighborsmagazines.com. Also, our friends at Drendel and Jansen's Law Group. Find them at batavialaw.com. We are also friendly with Downtown Auroran magazine, and they are at downtownauroran.com. And also the good folks at Gravity, and they are also in downtown Aurora. Did I forget anybody? I don't think so. All right, so we will talk again soon. We got a couple of shows coming up here. We're going to be talking with the Waterline Writers are going to be coming back to talk about what they're up to, and also on March 2nd, we are going to be talking to some folks from the Fox Valley Park District's Theater Guild. They've got a production of The Glass Menagerie coming up, and they want to talk about that. So tune in for those, and we will talk to you next time.
Okay.